Hello. Right, this is our Inspiring the Next CMO podcast series for Behind the Fluff podcast from the International Bunch. It's specifically for those in marketing in the industry or those interested in marketing. Who are we going to be talking to today? Hannah Baldwin. Hannah is a head of global marketing in the industry, and Hannah talks with us about her love of her dog and Monty Don, her rekindled love of horses, her inspiring Grandad, and how she swapped wearing high heels for slippers. And we also discuss her fantastic team and the innovative things that they're doing, and also how one day Hannah dreams of owning a deli. And so why don't we just jump straight in? Let's go. So welcome everybody. This is our Behind the Fluff podcast, and we have a brand new Inspiring the Next CMO series. We've got lots of great resources that you can find on internationalbunch.com/be inspired. So I am absolutely thrilled to have Hannah with me today. Hannah is a head of global marketing in the industry. Now, we've passed cross with each other several times at conferences mostly. Yeah. And, Hannah, those places we used to meet, chat, face to face.
Face to face.
In the same room.
I can almost remember.
Hello, Hannah.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely delighted. Now, we're going to start with a couple of icebreaker questions because, we want to get to know a bit more about you first.
Yeah.
So the first thing I want to ask you, we actually do a campaign where every day we send out a word of the day, and we like to be inspired about what word of the day we're going to send. And we've got this hashtag #InterBunch word of the day. So do you have a favourite word, and what does it mean?
I do have a favourite word, but it's a really basic word, but it means a lot to me. So I'm not going to define it because everybody knows. But my favourite word is dog. And the reason that it's my favourite word is because it's such a small little word, but it means so much, and there's so much love just packed in a little tiny word. And my dog inspires me every day.
Oh, I love it. That's so nice. And as a fellow dogger, I feel it. And look,
there we go.
Yeah, someone actually, when I lost Porridge, there's her footprints there. In October, someone made this for me, my friend Emma, and dropped it off to me, and I cried.
Oh,
so, yeah, they are amazing, and they do say that if you turn it backwards, it's God, isn't it? So
yes, exactly. Yeah. Well, there you go.
Oh God.
Oh God.
So first things first. A few more things about you. I mean, I love the dog word because that's very personal. Yes. So, what is the best thing that you have discovered in this last amazing year?
I think there's probably, on a work-related note, I think working in slippers is probably my best discovery. It's just brilliant. I've done interviews in slippers. I've done very high-level business meetings in slippers. It's changed my life, honestly, and I'm quite nervous about actually I haven't worn heels in a year, and anybody who knows me knows that I live in heels usually, so I'm a bit worried about that, but we'll worry about that when we have to.
I'm right there with you. Do you have the slippers on right now? Can we see?
I do have the slippers on right now.
I'm very curious to see.
I'm not flexible enough, but they are pink, fluffy, muley, leathery things. Very sweet.
Oh, nice. I was thinking maybe they were like Homer Simpson or
no, or like little
dog.
No, they're just normal kind of
comfy slippers.
Yeah. And then the other thing for me has been getting back into horse riding, because I used to ride when I was a kid. I haven't ridden for about 35 years, and when lockdown 3 or whatever number it is we're on now happened, I was given the opportunity to loan a horse at our local riding school. Wow. So I'm loaning a big liver chestnut gelding called Smurf and learning to ride again, and it's been absolutely brilliant. I get to muck out, I get to groom him, I get to ride him, and it has done so much for my just general well-being in the last crazy little while, and it's been brilliant.
Do you say his name was Smurf?
Smurf, yes, he's gorgeous. Brilliant. He is. He's very stubborn. He's very contrary. Got a big he's quite like me. We've bonded quite well. But yeah, it's been fabulous. And actually,
who wins though? When you want to go forward and he wants to go backwards, who wins?
Usually me, but only because he's a riding school horse, I think. But I think it's also reminded me kind of why it's important not to just sit here for many hours on the trot all the time. And
Exactly.
You have to have that extra focus, and it's just been brilliant. Loved it.
It clearly makes you smile as well, which is excellent. Very important.
Yes.
So who inspires you?
Who inspires me? I don't tend to look to famous people for inspiration or well-known personalities, because I think there's always something you don't know about them.
Yeah.
Usually a publicist.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people that you kind of admire, but you don't know them really. And often they've just got a book to sell. But I think for me, my main inspiration is my closest friends. They are a really fiercely talented, really successful, wonderful group of, highly intelligent, strong women. They're just amazing. Like everybody, they've had loads of stuff thrown at them. I mean, women, I think, tend to have more to deal with generally. And they're smashing through glass ceilings all over the place, but they always do everything and face every challenge with a lot of humour, a lot of grace, and in a very professional way. And they inspire me every day. And they're funny.
So lovely. Can I be your friend? I want to be friends with your friends. They sound amazing. No, to be fair, I have some amazing friends too. So, I can't discount my own friends.
No, exactly. But wow. They are. They are. And I think it's important to have people that are real people.
Oh my goodness.
To model yourself on and to take inspiration from, because otherwise you don't know people.
Yeah. Absolutely agree. And I think actually, even though you really value friends when you're younger, I think for me personally, as I've got older, I used to have so many friends when I was younger.
Yeah.
And then as I've got older, I actually have fewer friends that I'm closer to now.
Yeah.
But they are incredibly valuable friends to me. And I think you value friendships a lot more as you get older.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think you suddenly go past that point of you've known people for longer than you haven't known them.
Yeah.
And you celebrate things together, you commiserate things together, you support each other, and I'm so proud of them all, and I know they're proud of me. I don't think they really know what I do, and I don't pretend to know what half of them do, but for a career, I mean, but they're amazing. Lovely.
I hope that they hear this, or they see this, or
I'll make sure they do.
Yeah, because it's really, really lovely thing for them to hear. So when you were young, what did you want to be?
I wanted to be anything to do with horses, which didn't quite pan out.
Well, I don't know.
Or I could do now, or a volcanologist. Because I was obsessed with like volcanoes and things. But unfortunately, when I was at school, in the kind of careers advice wasn't quite what it is today.
Yeah.
So love my job, love my career now, but I think had I had different advice, I may have chosen a different route. But there's never too late.
Listen, my mother retrained in her 50s, I think it was, and did an open university course in law and became a solicitor.
Did she?
Yeah.
Wow.
So we
That's
have
impressive.
many years left in us. So the world is definitely still your oyster. So if you were to have dinner tonight with anybody in the world, whether alive or dead, whoever they are, who would they be?
My granddad. Because he was you'd have loved him. He was wonderful. He was really wise. He was interesting. He was a cracking storyteller. Most of it from a great imagination. I think he should have probably written a book, so there was never a dull moment. And I think he always believed in me and always encouraged me and probably spoilt me. And he was always very clear that he thought I could do whatever I wanted to do. And you know, that's really valuable when you're a kid, I think, growing up, to know that people believe in you. But he did it in a very bombastic sort of way.
Yeah.
And I still, I mean, he died many years ago, but I still miss him. And I think he used to do an amazing roast, grew his own vegetables, and he would just talk for hours and, you know, put the world to rights. And I think alongside him, probably Monty Don, because I love him. I love Monty, my guilty secret. And I'd love to pick his brains on. Yeah, we have. Yeah, love to pick his brains on gardening, and you know, I love gardening as well, but I'm just not very good. And I think we'd have Rick Stein to cook for us
in the kitchen.
In the kitchen, yeah. And then he could potter in with a little glass of wine. And there you go. It'd be fabulous.
Oh, that is fantastic. I love it. And I love that you went for a family member as well, because as you were saying that, you made me think of a few people of my family that have passed away that were just like that. And I just, you know, it you know, like a little solitary tear just appeared here, me thinking, oh, they have an amazing impact on our lives. And it's lovely that we still treasure and think about them today.
Yeah. He was even proud of me when he realised I could drink a pint. He took me to the Working Men's Club and showed me off and made me drink a pint in front of all of his friends. Bless him. So sweet.
At least he didn't make you do a yard of ale or something like that. Oh, my goodness. So let's talk about your career. So tell us about your career and how you got to where you are today.
So I've had a fairly... I think my career started out quite interestingly. I read modern languages at university. I had no idea what I wanted to do with that. And so when I graduated, I then went to be a ski rep in France for a couple of years, which was fabulous. I had
we must have a chat about that off
yeah. And in the summer, temped for a septic tank company, one of my best friends, which was, you know, brilliant, but wasn't really going anywhere. It was just to keep my career. And then after a couple of years, I kind of thought, or was told by my father, probably ought to get a proper job, love. So I worked for a while in customer services for telecoms companies, and then telecoms test equipment. And then a manager at one of the companies decided I would probably be quite good at marketing, so offered me a promotion into a marketing role. I had no experience in marketing, but they put me through my CIM and they gave me a lot of encouragement and trust and support. So
amazing.
That was pretty good. And then after a couple of years doing that, I thought, you know what, I really need to see the other side of the coin for this, and I need to get some experience in sales, which was a bit of a brave kind of the thing you do in your 20s, I guess. So I got a job in sales for a language travel company based in Switzerland with offices in London. And I did that for a year, and I travelled mostly around Asia, selling language travel courses to language schools in the UK and the US and Canada and Australia. And I loved travelling. I loved being out and about, but I was really not very good at selling at all. It just wasn't my thing. You know, I think you're a good salesperson or you're not. But what it did do is give me a really strong understanding of the value of marketing from the customer, internal and external customer perspective, which I don't think I would have got otherwise. And you know, the challenges that are faced, but the benefit that we as marketers can bring to our internal customers. And so then once I realised sales just wasn't for me, kind of jumped before I was pushed probably.
Yeah, we've all been there. I've done sales too. Yeah.
Yeah. I moved to ProQuest. So there I was a strategic marketing manager. I looked after Chadwick Healy portfolio, and then later on some serial solutions products, that kind of thing. Helped launch new databases, establish new products. That's where I first got my experience in publishing, working, obviously ProQuest being an aggregator, learnt a lot about digital products, about the library world, about the education aspect, the information industry in its entirety, and I loved working there. It was so much fun, and lots of people that are there are still in touch. There's the alumni.
We had great sales we were there at different times, because I came into your job after you left. The sales conferences were of legendary. I don't think that they're like that anymore, but
I don't think they are, no. And even now, I know, and even now I'll occasionally bump into people that I've not met before, and they'll go, "Oh, you're Hannah." Oh no. But it was great, and I really loved it. And I think, so many years later, people that I met early on in my career in publishing are still, friends, mentors, all of that kind of thing. And I don't think I'll probably leave publishing unless I go retire or something.
Yeah.
Then I moved on to Cambridge University Press. Very, very different environment, but still in the information industry. And there I looked after our digital program, so ebooks, primarily in databases. And that was a really formative time, because the press was going through a lot of transition, moving a very traditional organisation, but really quite innovative in a lot of ways in how it wanted to move forward and represent itself. And I was really lucky to be part of that. I was then fortunate to represent Cambridge University Press on the Publishers Association Digital Directors Board. I got to travel and attend conferences and present at conferences and just be part of the industry. And it's so vibrant and it's so exciting. And it's really important to be part of something that you believe in, I think. And we are in an industry that is about information and learning. And it's just, if you don't have something that you believe in, I think it's very difficult to kind of get behind it and get passionate about it.
Yeah.
So, and then from there, I started to work for professional associations, so not-for-profit organisations, and I'm still in that environment now. And again, it's very different because it's much, much broader. It's not just publishing as such. I mean, I know that publishing has moved on in terminology, but I think for me, it's really great to work in a much more complex environment. And I'm very lucky because I think one of my kind of passions is representing the voice of the customer. And whilst a professional association or membership body can look very complicated from the outside, and we make it very complicated from the inside, one of the great things for me is now being able to move away from lots and lots of disparate products and services and very much into really unique, compelling value propositions. And from a marketing perspective, it's brilliant being able to lead that. So I've got a fabulous global team of marketing professionals. They're very creative, they're very enthusiastic. We're responsible for customer experience management as well as marketing strategy and marketing campaign management. And so that's kind of where we are now. And I think it's been great being able to really demonstrate the value of marketing in the organisation I work for, particularly at the moment, because you've got to demonstrate your value, your relevance, your impact, and that's what we can do by representing the voice of the customer, by speaking to them in a way that drives impact, drives engagement. And there's always massive challenges, obviously. But I think that we're trying very hard to build on our kind of value-based position and speak to people in an emotional way. So not just, here's something, do you want to buy it? Or publish with us, or just telling that story and differentiating us. And that's, for me, it's such a great place to be.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with that. And you have a really lovely tone of voice. And I mean, I absolutely love, for example, like Simon Sinek, because he talks about, the golden circle and the approach of starting with the why first. And you'll see Apple, for example, and others who use that. And I'm an Android lover. I'm not an Apple lover.
Me too.
But, people that love Apple, they really love Apple.
They really do.
They really love Apple. So, and they're very bought into that. And Apple does so well with other Apple products that, it makes it so easy to, you're like, well, they integrate so well. Why do I not get an iPod and an iPhone and an iPad? And,
well, you're living it, aren't you? It becomes part of your lifestyle.
And they've got a wonderful way that they speak, that when you look at their advertising, for example, they focus on the why, but in such a way that they're addressing your pain point, and they flip it round, and then comes a call to action after. So it's about, the why, then the how, then the what. So, and I think that's something that your team does, and your colleagues as well, that you do so well. And in fact, I had a quick look at your LinkedIn earlier for something, and you've got a graphic on there. Maybe everyone's going to go to your LinkedIn now. There's people viewing me. What's going on? But there's this really great graphic on there that someone has done, and it says chemistry
making a difference.
I think it is. But the TRY on the end, try to make a difference. I just think that's really smart.
I'd love to pretend that was my own idea, but it wasn't, obviously.
I know, but we all come together and create these things together.
Yeah, absolutely. And that came about because we actually did some proper audience research, and the organisation let us go with it, and it was a very collaborative approach across the business, which was amazing. But for us, that campaign, is about trying to inspire GCSE students and A-level students to pursue a career in chemistry, because we know the numbers of people choosing to study chemistry are falling. And so we did a lot of research, and that campaign now has evolved beyond all expectations. It's winning awards all over the place.
It's brilliant.
And it led to a partnership a couple of weeks ago, that one of my team actually uncovered. So we partnered with the UK Space Agency to broadcast the Perseverance Mars rover landing via TikTok.
Wow.
Which was amazing. And I'm not really the right demographic for TikTok, but it was fascinating.
What are you talking about? That was like my go-to place last year. That kept me sane.
But it was, the opportunities, and it's built a lot of trust in the organisation in what we can do if you start with that why, and why is it we're doing this? We're not and focusing on outcomes rather than outputs.
Yes.
I think that's the other thing, and just being bolder and braver, and just a bit more,
absolutely, absolutely, girl after my own heart there. So, what have you been most proud of in your career?
Loads of things. I've done loads of great things. I've had lots of opportunity and experiences. I think the thing that I'm most proud of is my team, and I know with all these answers I sound a bit soppy, but and I know that I'm partly responsible for the performance of the team and how great they are, but they're really highly skilled, they're very capable, they're very open, they're wonderful to be around. This last year they've just been so cheerful and so engaged. It's been brilliant, and they're all kind of united in this common aim to do what they do really well, but have fun doing it as well. And I think for me, it's just it's a privilege to work with them, and to see what they can do, and to learn from them as well, because you never know everything, and you get to a point that new people come in and new ideas come along, and being able to harness that and not try and kind of stifle people, and pretend that everything is quite a challenge. But actually, my team are fabulous, and actually most of the teams I've worked with and looked after have been brilliant, but this team in particular I'm particularly proud of.
They're going to love to hear this, aren't they?
I'm gonna be like, yeah, pay us more then.
Yeah, what's that? Sorry, we don't do bonuses. So what have you found most challenging in your career?
I think for me, and we were talking about this earlier, I think it's the lack of understanding of what marketing really is and the power that a good marketing team and a marketing-led culture can bring to the organisation. I think, it is a particular skill set, but you must have this all the time. Everybody's a marketeer, and we were talking before this, but it's that kind of brochures and balloons approach. End of the thing. Hey, we've got a thing. Make it look nice. Do something shiny. Can you put some spot UV on this? I'm like, oh my god, yeah. But that really, I get very, very upset about that.
Yeah.
And I think I've found now I'm at a point in my career where I can manage that effectively. I think early on I just kind of railed against the machine, and I think it's very easy to fall into marketing speak, and then you feel like people feel like they're being beaten over the head with a Kotler textbook or something.
Yeah.
But actually, for me, I now spend a lot of time working with people and trying to understand what they're trying to achieve, and then showing them what we can do rather than telling them.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you just don't have any buy-in or credibility. And I think it's also important to really respect other people's subject matter expertise, so that in return they'll respect yours. I'm never going to know as much as my publishing colleagues about how to publish a journal. It's just not what I do. I understand a lot about open access, but I can't, I'm not in the same space, but I don't need to be, because my area of expertise is marketing. And so bringing those together and working collaboratively and respectfully, I think is now, paying a lot of dividends. And I think that, one of my first managers in marketing always said to me, it's always our fault when it goes wrong, and it's never thanks to you when something goes well. And that's true. But I think, you can flip that around and say, well, actually, we're the strongest department. We've got the broadest shoulders. You can't do what you need to do without us.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that we've worked very hard on is a kind of subtle shift in the terminology. So moving from a service department to an enabling function.
Yeah.
We are here to enable the organisation to achieve its goals. We don't do it on our own, but we are a big part of that.
Yeah.
And again, that's about articulating that customer proposition, the customer journey, the experience you want them to have, not just chucking out a nice little giveaway at the end of the process. So I think
those days are gone now, aren't they, though, really? I mean, yes, okay, sometimes those activities still need to exist, but actually, the marketing that we used to do back, in the 2000s, whatever you call that, in that decade is very different to what we do now. And maybe we'll have to have some kind of separate discussion on what exactly marketing is, so that people can understand it. Because Hannah and I had a bit of a chat before this. We were joking, as many of us marketers do, about what your parents say about, what you do, and what your friends think you do, and how do you actually explain what you do. Yeah. And actually, when you were talking earlier, it reminded me I remember that one job I was in, I got so into my marketing speak that when I would speak to my friends and they would say, what have you been doing in work? And they would come out with something. It was so centric to the organisation I was working with that it did not make sense to anyone externally. And I'm like, oh my God, what have I been doing? Oh, well, it doesn't matter. Like, no one understands me anymore.
No one understands. I know, it is funny, but yeah, I think it's just, it is a genuine profession. It is, a skill. It's not something that everybody can do. Much like I wasn't very good at sales, and I don't think we always get the respect we deserve. And I think, a lot of people do fall into the traps of just, but there's peas and there's, principles and all of that kind of stuff.
It provides foundation, doesn't it, to help people learn, but actually it's not so what's important now.
Yeah. So, I think being, without wishing to sound bandwagony, I think being a woman in the industry, publishing is much better than a lot of places I know, but it's, that also presents some challenges, obviously, but I don't think it's held me back, and I would like to think it doesn't hold my team back, but it's always there, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But hopefully it'll get better, especially with more that's been done on EDI landscape. And
oh God, yeah, definitely.
And actually, I mean, we could have a separate discussion about this, but which we're not going to do now. But someone did say to me the other day, which I thought was really interesting, is like, it's great if an organisation has a representation or representative for EDI, but what's actually their commitment? Why just have a representative? Why not have a person or a team who are actually ensuring that from an overarching level, that this is happening throughout the organisation? And so I think it'll be really interesting for us to see how that's going to be in, months, years' time.
Yeah, it's got to be positive.
Yeah, exactly. So if you weren't doing your role now, and money was no object, what would you do? What would you be? Show jumper?
I think the old bones are a bit too.
I don't know. I mean, look at Burley horse trials. Look at some of the.
I know it's just up the road. Isn't it? I might be able to get over a little cavaletti. I don't know. I think for me, I would love to work in a deli because I love cheese, or a shop or something like that in the lakes or in France, in southwest France. I would need a lot of space though, because I want to rescue lots of staffies and lots of donkeys. And obviously I'd have a horse to gallop about on to kind of round them all up.
Or just one.
Well, yes, because you kind of. I don't need one for show jumping, one for dressage. I just need.
I know they take a lot of. They do take a lot of looking after as well. They are a full-time job. My grandfather used to breed Irish stroke thoroughbreds, and I used to ride just like you when I was younger. And I did get on a horse. I hadn't ridden for a very long time. I did get on a horse about, I don't know, we're now 10 years ago, and I couldn't remember how to ride, considering I'd done cross country and pony clubs and all that stuff. I just it wasn't like getting on a bike. I was like, oh my God, how do I trot? It's like, so I admire the fact that you've gone back to riding. I've got a young daughter who's like, oh, pony. I'm like, maybe I should think about maybe I will go to a riding school. So what have you got any professional books that you have found and read that you have thought, God, they're a must read, and why?
I am a really voracious reader, but I really don't like business books at all. I try and avoid them. I do listen to audiobooks, and I kind of read the executive summaries of things. And I have read some very interesting books recently, well, just generally, that are not business books but can give you a different perspective on things. And a good example of that is a book called Our Place by Mark Cocker, and it's technically a kind of nature book, but it's fascinating. It made me think really long and hard about brand, for example. So there's a big focus on the National Trust and where that started and where it is now, and in terms of the values and the history behind it, and how they've kind of lost their way a lot in terms of what they were supposed to be and where they've gone. And working for a company like mine now, which has a huge heritage, it was really interesting to kind of apply some of that thinking. So I think for me, you can take inspiration from things that aren't necessarily a business book, where sometimes they just rehash the same thing.
Exactly.
Make loads of money from, now we're talking about human-centric marketing, and yesterday it was customer-centric, and it's like, but it's the same thing. I'm quite enjoying the Alonement podcast, which is a podcast about the really positive sides of spending time alone. and really enjoying it and loving it. And I've always been I thought I was quite good at it, but it was really interesting. And she interviews lots of really great guests about just lots of really interesting experiences. And I think now, it's important to be able to embrace those kinds of situations as well. But I think, the predictability of business books annoys me a bit.
Yeah.
And doesn't really do it for me. But I think by reading just generally, you get access to so much insight, so many great minds, so many different ways of thinking that you wouldn't do otherwise. That don't assume that just because it's a novel of some description that you're not going to find some inspiration in there that might apply to your work life, because it might.
Exactly. Oh, I love that. That sounds like a really good book, and we'll make sure that we include a link to that.
Yes.
So you also mentioned about the Elopement podcast. Are there any other books or favourite books or blogs or podcasts?
Oh, my favourite books, obviously not a business book, but my favourite books are the Gilead series, the Gilead Quartet, Marilyn Robinson. Just wonderful, beautifully written, very emotional, very evocative, just wonderful. I've got the fourth one just arrived, actually, Jack, and I'm almost don't want to read it because it's the last one. But I think it's just such a personal thing, isn't it? And I think for me, books take you to somewhere completely different, and just couldn't be without them.
Absolutely. I'm an Audible fan myself. I'm not much of a reader. I listen while I'm doing things. So if you could travel back in a time machine, what would you tell your early career self?
Be a volcanologist.
Do it.
Do the horse thing. I think really it would be don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be I have gone through times in my career and I need people to think I know all of this already. But actually, if you ask questions, you can learn a lot from other people, which will make you a better person. And I think the other thing is, don't underestimate the importance of good relationships and strong relationships, because as we know from this industry, it's very tight knit, it's very close knit, and those people can go on to become friends. They will almost certainly be some kind of mentor or
peer to peer, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, exactly. And so for me, it's about don't be afraid to ask questions, because you won't look stupid, and you might ask something that somebody else has been desperate to ask.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah,
that is absolutely so true. That really resonates with me as well.
And just be curious, because that makes life fun.
Absolutely, we all love a bit of fun. What is the best piece of advice you've ever been given? Be authentic. No point. I mean, you know me well enough. I struggle to be anything else. I just, it's. I think the last year has been quite interesting. Obviously, working at home, and I've said to my husband a few times, "Do I have a different work persona than home?" And he's like, "Well, a little bit, because you have to have different kinds of conversations, but not really." And I think being authentic can be very difficult, because you're putting yourself out there, and sometimes that means admitting I don't know this, or having to learn differently. But it's really resonated with me, and fantastic. So what's your number one tip for anyone working in marketing right now? I think for me, the last year has been really interesting. I think it's shown how adaptable and agile marketing can be, and how important it is. I think for us, we've had to respond really, really fast, and we did. And what we have been able to do is showcase much better the importance of our organisation to support our community. And I think now, for me, it's about moving into that recovery phase. Everybody's been very reactive, and now marketing have an opportunity to step forward and lead the recovery phase.
really focusing in on our audience. Who are they? What do they want? What do they need? What are their challenges? Why us? And really then using that information to push forward and differentiate and bring value to your customers, which will ultimately bring value to the organisation. So I think for me, it's about looking forward. It's about really putting your organisation front and centre. It's also about try new things. Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to die if you try something and it doesn't really work.
Absolutely, completely agree with that. Try new things, and like you said earlier, be bold, be brave, and honestly, stop doing what's not working.
Yeah, please.
So before we finish this, is there anything that you miss most since the COVID-19 pandemic, apart from us meeting at conferences?
About meeting at conferences, desperately miss. I think for me, it's just the simple things, being able to plan time with friends and family, going for a dog walk and stopping for a pint in the pub garden, just holidays in France. But I think there's also been a lot of positives for me. I've learning to perhaps appreciate the little things a bit more. And I hope that some of the things I've learned and some of the things that have given me a bit of cause for kind of re-evaluation of what's important and what I want, hopefully I'll be able to hang on to some of that. So you never know.
Exactly. And my final question to you, which I didn't ask you at the beginning to prep myself, which I should have done, because now you're probably going to throw something wild at me. Is there anything you want to ask me?
Oh, so many things. But
really?
Probably for over a drink.
Oh, that's good. I'm happy with that. You're definitely on for that. On for that.
Do that then. The next time we can get together.
So I want to tell you, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. You've been absolutely brilliant, and I have thoroughly enjoyed talking to you. And I know that people will definitely have a lot of different takeaways from this as well, which is really good and impactful for them to do straight away. So that's very important. So thank you, Hannah.
Thank you for having me. And if anybody does want to get in touch, I'm on LinkedIn, and you can always just drop me a line. I'm happy to hear from anybody, help, take any suggestions. Anybody got a cheese shop that they need help?
I was going to say, chat about cheese.
Or a horse they need mucking out. I'm your girl.